Hello everyone, this is my New Year message. They say that it's better to light a candle than to curse the darkness. So with that in mind, I'll light a candle, and we don't have to curse the darkness. This is my New Year message. Well, it's been a hard year for most of us this year, with the lockdowns and so much that gives us pleasure cancelled, so that we have entered the winter months without many of the joys that this time of the year brings, to offset the dark nights and the increasing cold. But thought is a powerful thing, and so is fear. We can use the imagination to end our fears of things that have not happened yet, and we can live in the moment. As more and more things are brought out to keep us apart, physically and mentally, we need to remember that we are spiritual beings in reality, and that none of this affects the true self. We are one in essence. We suffer under the illusion of separateness. Materialistic governments have no inkling of what we truly are, and only promote division. And yet even some people who follow the spiritual path and the spiritual teachings also follow this great dire heresy of separateness and forget their divine heritage, to go the way of those who know nothing about the true path that we tread together. We've been infected with negative thoughts and negative energy all year, and so most people are entering 2021 with little hope. But we must not forget the power of the Spirit and that of love. We can inject light into darkness, light a lantern to illuminate the way for others. We can go way beyond the mind-forged manacles that hold us down, and that realise that the world created by the spiritually blind is not the real world at all, but only a pale shadow, and we can take hold of hope, and we can believe in love and the fact that in us, in every one of us, the same heart beats, the same spiritual heart beats. And no matter how hard forces try to break us apart, they can never succeed if we awaken to what we truly are in our essential being. So let those who are on the path of light realise the true way. So I put in my talks and articles many times the words of H.P. Blavatsky, and some are very appropriate to this particular time. And now she's talking about the year 1888, but I've changed it a little bit so that it fits in with the year 2021. And she's talking about what I've just said about realising that we are spiritual beings. She says, "This is possible for us all personally, and instead of wishing our readers a happy or prosperous new year, we feel more in the vein to pray them to make it one worthy of the brilliant herald," which is the morning star, Venus she's talking about. "This can be effected by those who are courageous and resolute." Thoreau pointed out that there are artists in life, persons who can change the colour of a day and make it beautiful to those with whom they come in contact. We claim that there are adepts, masters in life, who make it divine. As in all other arts, is it not the greatest art of all, this which affects the very atmosphere in which we live? That is the most important is seen at once, when we remember that every person who draws the breath of life affects the mental and moral atmosphere of the world, and helps to colour the day for those about him. Those who do not help to elevate the thoughts and lives of others must of necessity either paralyse them by indifference or actively drag them down. And then she says later, in another article, "Why then should not 2021, as I say, be a year of greater spiritual development than any we have lived through? It depends on ourselves to make it so. This is an actual fact, not a religious sentiment. In a garden of sunflowers, every flower turns towards the light. Why not so with us? And let no one imagine that it is a mere fancy, the attaching of importance to the birth of the year. The earth passes through its definite phases, and man with it. And as a day can be coloured, so can a year. The astral life of the earth is young and strong between Christmas and Easter. Those who form their wishes now will have added strength to fulfil them consistently. That's very important, very, very important. So it's a time when we can make our thoughts count, when we can overcome the material situation we find ourselves in and find the peace within. But we can only do this if we realise who we really are. We are not weak, miserable sinners or slaves to ill-informed dictates, but we can hold as our line of life meditation that inwardly we are all immortal beings. Now HPB again states, to be brief, it is January the 4th which ought to be selected by the Theosophists, the esotericists especially, as their new year. January is under the sign of Capricornus, the mysterious Makara of the Hindu mystics, the Kumaras. It being stated having incarnated in mankind under the 10th sign of the zodiac. For ages, the 4th of January has been sacred to Mercury Buddha. The 4th of January being sacred to Mercury, of whom the Greeks made Hermes. The Roman Catholics have included Saint Hermes in their calendar. So it's very important to remember that it's the 4th that we hold as a, in Theosophy anyway, as our new year. Again, that gives us added power, added strength to make this year a positive one, the year 2021. With these facts under our belt, any spiritual warrior should be armed to face the coming year with optimism, no matter what befalls, and help to sweeten the very atmosphere by loving thoughts and compassionate actions. Remember what I say in most of my talks? That thing from Pythagoras? I tend to say things over and over again because I think that that's the way to get it rooted in people's minds, to plant the seeds. If you say it once, it's just forgotten within a few minutes sometimes, or a few hours or days. But if you say it over and over again, eventually it becomes part of the inner landscape. And lots of things become part of our inner landscape. People, situations, thoughts, ideas become part of our inner landscape. And they become part of us forever. For eternity, maybe. Or for many, many lives. So I say always, take heart, for the race of man is divine. And that's very important. For us to take heart. Always to see that the race of man is indeed divine. Because we tend to think science, materialistic science, etc. tends to make us think that we're like robots, automatons. We don't have any spirit within us. You know, the brain, once the brain dies, everything dies. There's nothing that lasts after death. But as spiritual beings, we believe that this physical body is the least of our vehicles. It's a passing frame. In the voice of silence, it's called the shadow. It's like a shadow. And Buddhist teaching says it's like a bubble on a stream, a flash of lightning in a summer cloud. It's just transitory. It's not the real person, not the real self, not the real us, not who we really are. And this is a big problem in society, that people can be controlled because they believe that this temporary frame, this temporary vehicle that we have, this physical self, is all that we have. But nothing can control the divine self within. Nothing. And remember that. We are spiritual beings. We are denizens of eternity. We are children of the light. We are immortal. And people fear death, but again, H.P. Blavatsky says that death is ever a friend and deliverer. It delivers us from the pains and sorrows of this life. And we move on to higher, purer spiritual planes of being. And we are reincarnated to carry on the journey, the pilgrimage. So there's always hope. Always hope. And we must keep hope within ourselves, because hope springs eternal in the human breast. So in this coming year, keep hope, keep hoping, keep believing, keep trying to live in tune with the higher divine self. Try being who you really are, not what society, education, etc., the government, whatever, makes us believe we are. Because behind the masks, we are one.